You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 262, Build Your Revenge Body with Jenny Blake. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. How is everyone doing? I am so excited. So, today I have a very special guest on the show with us. We have Miss Jenny Blake. So, Jenny is a dear friend of mine. She's also a coach colleague, and she used to be my coach, which I love. I love when I bring people on and they have been all three of those things, not only a coach, but a friend and also a colleague. I met Jenny in a mastermind a long, long time ago, and we have met monthly to talk about business ever since. And then I went on a quest to look good naked, which we'll talk about later. And she helped me do that, which was super fun. But today we're gonna talk about working out, building your revenge body, and kind of like nutrition when it comes to how it relates to breakups and divorce. And so we're going to talk all about that today. I'm super, super pumped. So thank you, Jenny, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't you just start out? Can you please just tell us who you are, where you are, and what do you do?
Yes. So, as you shared, my name is Jenny, but also known as Jenny the Nutritionist, which is my Instagram. So, everyone kind of calls me that. But I am a nutritionist for ladies who lift weights and want to look like they lift weights. So they want to build muscle, decrease body fat, but really understand the science behind nutrition and how it works in your body. And then also creating your routine that runs on autopilot. So that's kind of what I do and who I help. And then I am located in Bali, Indonesia. So I'm obviously American, but I've been out here for a little over 2 years and I'm loving it. We'll see what the future holds, though.
I can't believe you've been there for 2 years. That blows my mind. I feel like you just got there for some reason. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun.
And you just recently got engaged, which is also fun news too.
I did.
Yay.
Yes, we had been together for almost 10 years and kind of like that, oh, we'll settle down and, get married, have kids after we stop traveling because we've been traveling in total for about 5 years. And we kept saying that, but then we just kept traveling. So then we're like, all right, let's just do it at the same time then. And so here we are.
Yay. So I can't believe I don't know this about you, or if I had heard about it, I don't remember this. So have you been through a bad breakup? And what was your experience like? Tell me about your like breakup history. Have you been through something like that?
Oh, yes, I have. And yeah, I cannot believe we haven't talked about this, but I was in a relationship in college. I went to the University of Louisville and I was in this on and off again relationship as we do. And it was just not a good fit. He was just not the one. But I just could not go be on my own when our friend group was the same, right? And we did have a lot of fun, but it just was not it. And so it was just on again, off again, on again, off again. And I just felt like I couldn't get out, but then also I didn't want to get out, but I did want to get out. And I remember my friend sharing, and her name's Christy. I'll never forget this. There was one point, and this was like after one, but the sixth time we'd broken up, and she said, like, oh my gosh, you're such a hottie, like, and you have the most fun personality. Like, you're gonna be like such like a hot commodity on the market, and you're gonna have so much fun. And I remember she said that, and I was like, oh, me? Like, that's me? And it's hilarious because I obviously I know what you teach. I follow along with everything you teach. And I realized that I just didn't have that like belief and thought about myself where I felt like I really like I needed this relationship and I was making, a mistake by not really owning this relationship because I couldn't do better. Right. So I remember she said that, but
Which, by the
this
way, I need to pause for just a second because that is like really mind blowing and funny to me having known you, years later. And we were at a retreat together, Jenny and I, and someone went around like the group and was like, go around and give everyone one word about themselves. Like, and a lot of these people you're just meeting for the first time. And Jenny, I had met her and we've spent a lot of time on Zoom together, but we've never, up until this point, we had never been in person together. And something that didn't come through in the Zoom calls with you and I together that came through in person was like how I forgot the words exactly that I used, but like flirt is like one of them, right? It's like fun and flirty and like you are a magnet. Um, very, very much so, especially in person. Like when I was in person with her, I was just like, you are such like a fun, flirty person, even like with me. And right, it's not like romantic or anything, but it's just like, oh my gosh, it just was like that is the vibe and the energy you put off. So like I can see that, but it's just so interesting that, years ago, like you didn't see that in yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like that's for most people, right? We're so stuck in this like miserable story that we can't even see ourselves like in this light that so many other people can. And it was so helpful to hear that though, because I could kind of like explore that and be like, oh, wait. Like it gave me a little confidence, to be like, no, wait, I am that person, even if I still like fully didn't believe it. So going from there, of course, that wasn't the turning point. It gave me a little bit more like strength and hope. But the final saga was a huge, I would say, breakup, but hooking up with different people, very dramatic and very upsetting too. Like words that were said, it was just terrible. And I was so upset. And even though I like was the person doing the breakup, it kind of felt like it got turned on me a little. And I just could not handle it. And I'm a very like small-ish person, like in terms of like 5'1", but I got so skinny and not in a healthy way. I would eat Taco Bell and it would just go straight through me. And like everything, it was like I couldn't eat, but then I could eat and it would just go straight through me. So much so that I even got a stool test done to be like, something is wrong. I can't keep food down. Like I was just miserable and I was in it. And this is my senior year of college. I was also on the cheer team there. So it's funny because I think a lot of people think, oh, you want to be skinnier? Like, oh, lucky you, you got super skinny. But first of all, I was like 104 pounds, which is, you know, we all have our own perspective, but I'm like, that's not cute on me. So there's that part. But then there's also I was thinking about what he wanted. And I remember comments made about voluptuous women, right? And that was not me, especially when I just kept losing weight and feeling like I was just stick skinny. And also, so then putting that together, being like, oh, now I'm even more now, not what he wants. I don't look good. So I just want to call that out for a few reasons to kind of share the story, but also that so many people probably have that in their head of comments of like appearance of how they think they should look based on what he or they said. And it's not a fact, right? It's not just like, oh, skinnier is better, because in my case it definitely wasn't, and it did not feel that way.
So glad you brought that up. I love that you brought that up. And the way that I see this kind of happening for a lot of my clients is one of two things typically is happening. Either they're eating as a buffer to like feel better, eating and drinking alcohol as a buffer to feel better, and then gaining weight. Or I see you can't eat anything. Like you're so distraught, you're so devastated, you're really moving through grief in a way where you just feel sick all of the time and you can't eat, you can't keep food down. And so that makes total sense, everything that you just said. Yeah. And then also like just thinking about what is it that he wants, and then am I being that version of, myself that he would want, versus getting clear about like what does healthy look like to you?
Yeah, what does healthy look like to me? What kind of shape do I want to create? And not even at that point, I don't think I was even in that mindset, right? I was just in it for sure, but getting healthy, right?
Mhm.
That was definitely the first thing that needed to happen because in kind of going a bit into the science of nutrition, I don't think people realize like the nutrients that go into your body are impacting your hormones and are impacting your neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
So it's like the actual building block. It's like think of like the gas that goes into a car, right? If you're putting in the wrong gas, the output of the car, like you're not going to be able to go as far. It's going to be you're going to have to constantly go back to the shop to get it fixed. And then the same thing with nutrients. And so it is impacting your neurotransmitters. So if you're lacking the nutrients, and lacking nutrients could be in the form of not eating, but it also could be in the form of overeating just the wrong and unhealthy foods, right? You're not supporting your healing journey anyway, especially when it comes to your neurotransmitters and hormones around it.
Let's talk about that, Jenny. Can you tell us like I mean, from your perspective as a nutritionist, like how would you, what kind of foods or what kind of things should we be giving our bodies nutrition wise after a breakup?
Yeah, this is such a good question because I do recognize that there is like a soul like comfort that we need, right? There's that emotional like pleasure that we're looking for. And so I suggest pairing that with like an intelligent meal as well that's also going to nourish us. So I have a tool which you're familiar with called Create Your Plate. And so essentially, Create Your Plate is when you have a meal, make sure you're getting a portion of protein on it, a portion of starchy carbohydrates, which I can give examples of, and then vegetables. So even if you feel like, oh, like I need my comfort meal with potatoes, right? It's like, okay, yes, great. But add potatoes in, that's a great starchy carb. But also let's get your portion of protein in. And also let's get those vegetable ins, not only for like a balanced meal, but also for that day and in the moment to help fuel you through your day, but also for the long term, right? Supporting those neurotransmitters and your hormones and also your shape, right? And building that for the long term too. So portion of protein, just to give an example, you guys are probably familiar, it could be eggs, it could be fish, chicken, turkey, it could be steak. And in some cases, when, I remember like it was really hard to get food down and digestion was challenging, it might even be a protein shake, right? And so that's an example protein, starchy carbs, potatoes, rice, and oatmeal. That's another good example there. And then vegetables, could be broccoli, it could be green beans, it could be asparagus. I like to think about it like how does it pair with the other things on my meal so that way it also tastes good. But also, you could like dress it up, add seasoning, add sauce with it all. So it does still like nourish your soul as well, and kind of create that pleasure in that sense too.
So good. And I just want to call out too for those of you when she's saying neurotransmitters, we're talking about, the essence of the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast when I'm saying that thoughts create feelings. So the stories that are in your brain create how you feel. So if this isn't or if, I guess if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Awesome. So glad to have you here. And you're going to learn that thoughts create feelings, and those stories and those thoughts really determine your breakup journey and how you feel throughout your breakup journey. And what's so important about everything that Jenny is sharing that I want to just call out and emphasize a little bit more is the fact that what you are putting in your body matters because it influences, like Jenny said, your hormones, and it impacts the stories and the thoughts that are by default playing in your brain. So the healthier your meals, the healthier our thoughts are essentially going to be, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, totally. And to give an example of this, if you've ever gone out and partied all night, or if you've just had a bad night of sleep and you didn't sleep at all, and you wake up, you're probably like you're setting yourself up probably for more like negative or anxious thoughts, right?
Hence a bad
And
mood. Like when you wake up with a bad
yes,
mood, right? It's because of like, you know, the mood is being based off of your stories, right? It reminds me too
right.
of like when you're out drinking and then on the next morning you're like, oh my God, what did I do? You're like freaking out. Like all of those thoughts are creating feelings of panic, urgency, fear, right? All of that.
Yeah, totally. And same thing, let's say like PMS or cycle symptoms, right? And you're like, you wake up and you're like, what you again are like in a bad mood, and you're like, wait, this isn't me, but I see what's playing out here. That's what I'm talking about of how neurotransmitters exactly, to help or influence your thoughts and the stories that you're having. And there's one more thing I was going to add onto that, but I can't remember. So let's just carry
Yeah.
on.
No, totally fine. Well, and it reminds me too because I did fasting in 2020. Well, I've done fasting a lot and it started in 2020 and I just remember the influence like my gut, how like clean my gut was, how it influenced my mindset. It was a very dramatic shift, but it was body related. So I think it's important to emphasize how much the body can impact the mind and thought work that we do. Mhm.
Oh, yes, for sure. Okay, I remember it too, and this is along the same lines,
Yeah.
is eating enough also. And when I say enough, I don't mean of just anything, but eating enough of like nutrients of nourishing foods. If you're not eating enough, it is a stressor on the body, right? And so breakup is already enough stress on the body, that then you're adding this other stressor, which is kind of creating, again, you can create this environment where like, okay, you have these stories, you have these thoughts, right? And you can create this environment where it feels like you're dragging through mud to like create a new story, or you can create this environment that's really supportive and it feels like, oh, it's like guiding me and lifting me up to change this story. And I think that's the difference like nutrition can play.
Yes, perfect example. I love that. So good. Yep. Amazing. So tell us a little bit about, we've talked about nutrition, but I would love to know too, like what is the best workout for someone after a breakup when we're trying to, build our revenge bodies?
Yes. So such a good question. So first, since we just talked about nutrition, I have to say that nutrition's going to be the biggest impact on your shape. So 100% workouts will help and can help, alter your shape, but you're going to go so much further when you have the nutrition to support it. So just had to share that. But then as far as the actual workout, I believe lifting weights is going to be the most optimal for a handful of reasons. So the first is that it is something that you can, and ideally you're progressing with, right? So whereas if you go to let's say like a cardio class, or if you just go in and do cardio, it's not that that's bad, like that can be fine. But as far as like being in a place where you have something that you're working towards and it's bigger than just this one workout, right? It's something where it's okay, over the next 3 months, right? I am going to go from lifting, let's say squatting 50 pounds to squatting, 75, 100, 125 pounds. Like having that progression and that goal just from a mental standpoint is so much fun, so exciting. And I think is really important for having something that you're working towards outside of the current situation. So that's just one part of it that makes it a lot more fun and a lot more exciting than just, okay, I'm just moving my body today. But then as far as, there's so much benefits to lifting weights, but that's really what's also going to change your body composition, right? It's what's going to create the curves, the lines, the definition in your shape. And if you are someone who feels like they have body fat to lose, it's going to make it so much easier to decrease body fat when you're have muscle and you're building muscle and you're training to have muscle. So, I would say definitely lifting weights in a progressive manner meaning that you're on a training program and you have a goal in, 2 months and in 4 months to lift heavier, and you're tracking those weights along the way to progress. And then the one thing that I would add to that is I am not anti-cardio. I think adding cardio to the end of that is also beneficial for those endorphins in the moment. Because I don't know if you've ever gotten like they call it like the runner's high, which I don't run, but you can get it from different cardio. I've gotten it from like spin classes, right? You're like on the bike, you're like music's going, and afterwards you feel like such a high. Even if it's, 10 minutes on the Stairmaster, or if it's like 15 minutes walking down an incline after your lifting session. Not only is that good for heart health, and I think that's very fitting, but also for to get those endorphins, right, and that feel good post workout. So that way you're kind of getting the long term, you're considering the long term in the progression there, but that also you're getting that kind of post workout high as well.
Yeah, I've never been a runner. I've never gotten that runner's high, but I feel like dancing though, I wonder because you
Yes.
do dancing, like I kind of get that from dancing.
Mhm.
Um, I love that. Thank you so much. So I want to talk about look good naked. You guys, this was like one of my favorite things. I remember talking with you, and I don't remember if we like were talking about it in like a business sense and like we were doing like a marketing thing, or if I just like came up with that, or if you had come up with it and shared it with I don't remember the birth of this, but I
I
just remember
remember.
you do?
It was I put out a post and you messaged me and you're like, oh, what? I want to look good naked. This is you kind of were talking about it from 2 points of like, because we talk about business, like a marketing standpoint, but then you're also like, I want to join. I want to look good naked.
Yes. Yeah. So you must have posted something that was like, oh my, like it made me realize like I could look good naked. And I remember there was something that you posted about like, um, you can really, you specifically are able to put on any form of clothes, like clothing, and you look good in it. And like, what is it like to put on clothes and like look and feel good in every piece of clothes that you try on? And I was like, whoa, what? I definitely personally don't have that experience. And then I was like, I want to like look good even when I'm just like naked. Like when I'm naked, I just like want to look amazing. Right. And so I remember I was like, yes, I totally want to join and do that. So talk to me. I mean, we've got the look good naked piece, we've got the revenge body. Because I think when I think back to my breakup, the whole reason I was working out was really for myself to like look good and feel good, not only about myself, but also to like I'm not gonna like lie. A lot of it was to like look good for him,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And revenge. But at the same time, it just created so many other benefits. So I guess I'm curious from your perspective, again, as a nutritionist, as someone who helps people do this every single day, what are the benefits of taking care of your body outside of looking good naked, outside of having a revenge body?
Oh my gosh. So many. So many. And I think I'm 35, so I a lot of ladies that I talk to are like just now starting to consider what life looks like, 40s and 50s and in 60s. And also feel like now, like you can tell somebody. I feel like when we're, in 20s, it's like you can't really tell if someone like doesn't work out, right? But now you can tell, and it's almost like the way that the shape, like which way it faces. Because one thing that I see is when I start working with ladies is like gets lifted, right? Everything is like perkier and gets lifted. And so I think that's more like physique wise, but also thinking about like longevity, right? Of osteoporosis and like overall health, but having the capabilities for, yes, in our 60s, 70s, 80s of like easily going down the stairs. And I think of my parents, and if you think of your parents, especially if they're in their like 60s, 70s, or 80s, like you start to see how it's harder for them to do these like daily functions, and like that starts now. So I think that's one side, but then also just thinking about if you want to have kids, right? And being able to like run and chase and pick up your kids. And I see, how many reels do we see where it's like day in the life and the mom has like two or three kids and she's carrying both of them, but then also like carrying the bike and then also like having to like open the doors and shut the doors and like handle the kids in one hand, where it's like that's a 50-pound kid in one hand. Like being able to like do things like that to like take care of your kids and your family. So that's definitely like thinking about more like long term, right? But then also thinking about like from the day to day and being able to like get up out of your seat and kind of feel your glute squeeze and feel like the muscle in your body and having that connection with your body where you're like proud of like, yeah, this is like a strong, capable physique, whether that means a group wants to go hiking and there's like, I remember talking to one of my ladies and she was like, there's now nothing like no adventure, no like invitation that I have to like question like, wait, am I capable of doing that? Right, sure, you want to go on a level 11-mile hike, no problem, sure, we want to go wakeboarding, no problem. And I could see this like with dates too, right? If like if someone asks you to go on a date and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel comfortable, whether that's like the capability or even just being in your swimsuit, right, and wanting to feel, it could be in the middle of December, right? And someone's like, oh, we're going to the mountains and we're going to go in the hot tub. And if you're thinking about like, oh my gosh, I can't get in a bikini right now, versus like, oh, I can't wait to show off this badass physique in the hot tub, whether with the man or without the man, like having that confidence and that like, it's just, to me, it just makes life so much bigger because this part is not only not like an obstacle you have to overcome, but it's almost like it's fueling you, like being well fueled, and having that like badass shape, not only in like capabilities, but also like an inner confidence and like sexiness. I could go on and on because obviously I'm very passionate about this.
So good. I loved all of those though, because it makes so much sense. I feel like it helped me so much in my journey towards getting over my ex. Just being in good shape, feeling like I was in good shape, building up my own confidence, also building up um, confidence around my capability to learn how to do anything. I felt like I had been trying, quote unquote, trying to work out. And it wasn't until the breakup where I just finally like did it and showed myself I could follow through on something that I said I was going to do, which I think is a beautiful, quality and skill to build within yourself too. So
Yeah, and you were already working out consistently and lifting weights consistently before you joined, which, that's the case for all of my ladies. But then when you joined, and this is what I see a lot, it's like it's a hobby, right? And it's something that it's like you're taking care of yourself just for your health, but it's something that you're like, oh, like this is a hobby now. This is something I do. Like I'm a fit chick, right? I go to the gym, I lift weights, I wear the cute outfits, I have muscle, right? And then you get the benefit of like seeing your weekly photos change week over week because now you're optimizing your nutrition and optimizing it all. And I remember one of your friends reach out to me and they're like, I saw Dorothy's photos. I like have to join. She looks so hot. And so it's also, yeah, just going in the like taking it to the next level of being like, yeah, I'm that fit chick. And this is, a commitment that I'm in like for myself. And I'm seeing and feeling the benefits from that. Um, Again, and it's just less time you're thinking about your past self and more time like creating that future self, which
your
I
bigger
know
and
you've
better
got.
life, right? Bigger
Yes.
and better life, my brave hearts. Absolutely. When you're living that BBL, you don't need a Brazilian butt lift for it, but when you're living that BBL,
And creating that BBL, that's kind of my joke too, where I'm like in the gym doing hip thrust and I'm like, I'm building these glutes, I'm building that BBL, in multiple
yes.
ways.
I love it. So good. So good. Amazing. Jenny, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on. I know it's going to be so helpful for all of the brave hearts listening in. Is there anything else that you would like to share with any of the listeners?
This was amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I think the two biggest things are one, kind of what I shared at the beginning is maybe you haven't had that friend tell you yet, like, oh my gosh, you're so great at this, and you didn't even realize it. But maybe finding that for yourself. So I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing is kind of realizing like, oh, nutrition is like is plays a role in this, and I can actually use it as a tool not only as like part of my healing journey, but also to build that revenge body, right? And like get into it, make it a hobby, like become that fit chick if that's who you want to be. That you can totally do that at any point in time. And it's not something that's like out of reach or maybe like not for you. Um, Especially if you're already, working out, already lifting weights, it's like the sky's definitely the limits of what you can achieve. So I'm excited for you guys.
Yes. All right, Chica. So tell me, how can people find you if they want to come to create your shape with you? They want to work with you. How can they find you? Where can they hang out with you at?
Yeah, so you can always follow along and feel free, to message me if you listen to this episode at on Instagram at Jenny the Nutritionist. So I hang out there a lot. I also have my own podcast, which Dorothy has been on, and it's called Create Your Shape with Jenny the Nutritionist. So I have lots and lots of episodes regarding to lifting weights and specifically nutrition for ladies who are lifting weights. And then if you'd like to join or learn more about my 4-month nutrition coaching program called Create Your Shape, you can do so at jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.